Stapitam Jain Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sargadatam Sahagana Raganatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayatam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Lalita Shiva Shakam Pitams Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Prananami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Trupasta Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktabrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are continuing our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 14. Today's text is 49. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we want to thank everyone, thank ourselves for being present for tonight's Srimad Bhagavatam class. The text is 49 of chapter 14. Alampata Shira Daro Gunakaro Rishta Paridya Vyatito Dukit Teshu Adbhuta Shatur Jagata Shoka Harta Naidatikam Tapam Vibodaraja Alampata, virtuous. Shila Dara, qualified. Guna Akaraha, reservoir of all good qualities. Rishta, jolly. Pararidya, by others' happiness. Vyatita, distressed. Dukiteshu, in others' unhappiness. Adbhuta Shatru, without enemies. Jagataha, of all the universe. Shoka Harta, destroyer of lamentation. Naidaki kam, due to the summer season. Tapam, distress. Eva, likened. Uduraja. I'll share my screen so that I can share different things that I'm reading from. Can you change that so I can share my screen, please? Can you change the settings so I can share my screen? Thank you.
Yes, you can share.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. He will be a virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy in others' happiness, distressed in others' distress, and will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes, like the pleasant moon after the summer sun. Purport. Prahlad Maharaj, the exemplary devotee of the Lord, had all the good qualities humanly possible. Although he was the emperor of this world, he was not profligate. That means he was not overly indulgent. Beginning from his childhood, he was the reservoir of all good qualities. Without enumerating those qualities, it is said here summarily that he was endowed with all good qualities. That is a sign of a pure devotee. The most important characteristic of a pure devotee is that he is not lumpata or licentious. Again, that means not without self-control and very simple living. And another quality is that he is always eager to mitigate the miseries of suffering humanity. The most obnoxious misery of a living entity is his forgetfulness of Krishna. A pure devotee, therefore, always tries to evoke everyone's Krishna consciousness. This is the panacea for all miseries. And the text again. He will be a virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy in others' happiness, distressed in others' distress, and will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes, like the pleasant moon after the summer sun. So this discussion, the demigoddess Diti, was soon to give birth to the two demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And she was very unhappy and distressed about this. Out of motherly love, of course, she wanted nothing bad to happen with her children, her two sons, and she was very concerned that they would cause trouble to others. But she learned that she would have a grandson who would be a pure devotee of Lord Vishnu. And she was very happy about that. Another brilliant example of mixed happiness and distress in this world. The nature of this realm. We do not find unbroken good things happening. They're always mixed with unpleasant or challenging situations. And so here she's hearing about the qualities of Prahlad. He's going to be a very good person. We think about good people who do good things for others. Prahlad Maharaj is certainly like that. It reminds me of reading this list of qualities of any saint of any religion. Jolly and happy in others' happiness, distressed in others' distress, and will have no enemies. A destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes. And Srila Prabhupada specifically mentions the most important characteristic is that he is not lumpata or licentious. Licentious means just very uncontrolled, self-indulgent. We see very often, not always, but very often, wealthy men and women, they really indulge themselves in sense gratification. There have been surveys done, and generally, the people of the world who indulge in the most sexual activity are wealthy people. So Prahlad Maharaj was not like that. Very saintly, self-controlled, devoted to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada also mentions the most obnoxious misery is forgetfulness of Krishna. A pure devotee, therefore, always tries to evoke everyone's Krishna consciousness. This is the panacea for all miseries, or the ultimate complete cure for all miseries. And this is mentioned. It's mentioned again and again throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, but in the very beginning, when the sages had gathered at Naimisharanya, and they were asking Sutta Goswami or Shanaka Rishi about this. Shanaka Rishi was asking Sutta Goswami. He says, please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. There are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties, which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instruction their hearts may be fully satisfied. So see, these saintly, good-hearted, wise men, they are thinking about others, thinking how the world can be a better place, how people can be happy. All blessings upon you, O Sutta Goswami. You know for what purpose the personality of God had appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva. O Sutta Goswami, we are eager to learn about the personality of Godhead and its incarnations. Please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous masters, acharyas, for one is uplifted both by speaking them and by hearing them. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. O Sutta, those great sages who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can at once sanctify those who come in touch with them, whereas the waters of the Ganga can sanctify only after prolonged use. Who is there desiring deliverance from the vices of the age of quarrel, who is not willing to hear the virtuous glories of the Lord? In the Sanskrit, Ko va bhagavatastasya punya shokeja karmana shudikamo na shinuyat yasha kali malapaha. Mala means something dirty. Mala apaha. Kali mala apaha. Of the age of the agent for sanctification. So if there is someone like us who wants to be freed of the corruption and the evil of this age of Kali, then this is the method. You have to hear the virtuous glories of the Lord. Exactly what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. The most obnoxious misery is the forgetfulness of Krishna. A pure devotee, therefore, always tries to evoke everyone's Krishna consciousness. This is the panacea for all miseries. And Lord Krishna himself mentions several places in his Gita, in the 18th chapter, for example. He says, one who is self-controlled and unattached, who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain by practice of renunciation the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. Being purified by his intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in a secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance, detached, free from false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, and anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship, and peaceful. Such a person is certainly elevated to the position of self-realization. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So the whole effort is becoming genuinely Krishna conscious, God conscious, as fully as possible. Earlier in the Bhagavad Gita, in the end of the 5th chapter, very famous verse, Bhotaram jagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suradam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantam richati. A person in full conscious of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So just see, Krishna consciousness, granting those who take to it seriously joy and peace from the pangs of material miseries. So Prahlad Maharaj, he doesn't just want that for himself, but he wants everyone to have this. Krishna wants that all of us, that all of his parts and parcels have this perfection of human life. And Prahlad Maharaj, as an exemplary devotee, a pure devotee, is dedicated to helping others to take shelter of Krishna. Now, Prahlad Maharaj, there is many chapters related to Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And later there will be the full story of Hiranyakashipu. Here, soon, Lord Varaha, Vishnu, is going to slay Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was the older brother. So we're going to hear about Hiranyakashipu and later in the 7th canto. But in the beginning of that narrative, because as we're hearing, this Prahlad Maharaj was going to be the son of Hiranyakashipu. So that can happen, that devotees appear in an atheistic, demonic family by arrangement of Krishna for good purposes. But we can hear more about Prahlad Maharaj. Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons, of whom the one named Prahlad was the best. Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead. The qualities of Maharaj Prahlad, the son of Hiranyakashipu, are described here. He was completely cultured as a qualified Brahmin, having very good character and being determined to understand the absolute truth. He had full control of his senses and mind. Like the super soul, he was kind to every living entity and was the best friend of everyone. To respectable persons, he acted exactly like a menial servant. To the poor, he was like a father. To his equals, he was attached like a sympathetic brother. And he considered his teachers, spiritual masters, and older god brothers to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was completely free from unnatural pride that might have arisen from his good education, riches, beauty, aristocracy, and so on. So a pure devotee has no needs. The pure devotee of Krishna is completely happy inside, spiritually, and therefore is never jealous of others. As we advance in Krishna consciousness, we have less and less desires for the things of this world. When we have desires for things of this world, we become jealous of others to one degree or the other, maybe a little, maybe a lot. But if we want things and someone else has them, then of course we're going to become a little jealous, and we'll suffer from anger when we don't get what we want. But the pure devotee of Krishna, and as we advance in Krishna consciousness, all of that becomes less and less, and that we can be kind to others. We can think about other people's benefit instead of trying to hurt them. Some of us may have experience in life, in the neighborhood, or at work. We get some promotion, or we get something, and then others are unhappy and they try and cause us trouble because uh, they want it and they're upset they can't have it. Or sometimes there's competition in a workplace to get a promotion, and they'll try and ruin it for the other person because it's just horrible. So Prahlad Maharaj was free of all of that sort of tendencies. He was happy when someone else was happy, and he felt sad. He felt the pain of others. He was because of being full. As we become more and more Krishna conscious, we become full within ourselves. We don't need, or we need much less from outside. So this is very wonderful position. Although Prahlad Maharaj was born in a family of Asuras, he himself was not an Asura, but a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Unlike the other Asuras, he was never envious of Vaishnavas. He was not agitated when put into danger, and was neither directly nor indirectly interested in the fruitive activities described in the Vedas. Indeed, he considered everything material to be useless, and therefore he was completely devoid of material desires. He always controlled his senses and life air, and being of steady intelligence and determination, he subdued all lusty desires. O King, Prahlad Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas, as all good qualities are always found existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They always exist forever in his devotee, Prahlad Maharaj. In any assembly where there are discourses about saints and devotees, O King Yudhishthira, even the enemies of the demons, namely the demigods, what to speak of you, would cite Prahlad Maharaj as an example of a great devotee. Who could list the innumerable transcendental qualities of Prahlad Maharaj? He had unflinching faith in Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, and unalloyed devotion to him. His attachment to Lord Krishna was natural because of his previous devotional service. Although his good qualities cannot be enumerated, they prove that he was a great soul. The same thing that's mentioned in today's verse, that he was a reservoir of all good qualities. From the very beginning of his childhood, Prahlad Maharaj was uninterested in childish playthings. Indeed, he gave them up altogether and remained silent and dull, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Since his mind was always affected by Krishna consciousness, he could not understand how the world goes on, being fully absorbed in the activities of sense gratification. Prahlad Maharaj was always absorbed in thought of Krishna. Thus, being always embraced by the Lord, he did not know how his bodily necessities, such as sitting, walking, eating, lying down, drinking, and talking, were automatically performed. Because of his advancement in Krishna consciousness, he sometimes cried, laughed, sometimes expressed jubilation, and sometimes sang loudly. Sometimes, upon seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlad Maharaj would loudly call in full anxiety. He sometimes lost his shyness and jubilation and began dancing in ecstasy, and sometimes, being fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of the Lord. Sometimes, feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hands, he became spiritually jubilant and remained silent, his hairs standing on end and tears gliding down from his half-closed eyes because of his love for the Lord. because of his association with pure unalloyed devotees who had nothing to do with anything material. Prahlad Maharaj constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. In other words, Prahlad Maharaj bestowed upon them transcendental bliss. So one note about this is that there are uh, a good number of people who know about Srimad Bhagavatam. They can even quote verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. At least in India, sometimes they speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, but they're not actually very well read. They haven't fully studied the Srimad Bhagavatam. And these persons sometimes find fault with devotees that why are you singing? Why are you dancing? Uh, what is all of this sentimental? But here, it's completely there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Where is that? Here. He sometimes lost his shyness and jubilation, began dancing in ecstasy, and sometimes being fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. He felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of the Lord. So this is also there in the 10th canto, a number of places in that Krishna book. There's a discussion about the gopis and when they met Lord Krishna in the forest of Vrindavan, and he disappeared from them, and they became mad. Oh, the love of our life is gone. Where is he? And they began imitating his pastimes. So we hear also Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Uh, uh, he fully exhibited, just like Prahlad Maharaj, all of these different qualities tremendously to the fullest extent. Hair standing on the end, uh, dancing in ecstasy, becoming stunned, imitating the pastimes of Krishna. So this is our natural, original, spiritual identity, just full in this ecstatic spiritual attraction and love for Krishna. So Diti is hearing how her grandson would be like this, and it was a cause of great joy for her. Does anyone have any questions or comments up to this point?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhuji,
it must be difficult for Diti as she is the mother. She wants the best for her children, and yet she knows that they're going to be demons. Obviously, the consolation is that then Prahlad Maharaj will be born. But as a mother, I mean, this is in the future, Prahlad Maharaj, but as a mother, this must be a very difficult pregnancy for her.
Yes, yes, without a doubt. What is more unhappy for a woman than understanding that her children will have difficulty, and more than that, be a cause of difficulty to others, certainly a cause for feeling depressed and sad. So this is what's going on with her. Although the demigods and demigoddesses, they of course, they're devotees, and so they understand that they're not the ultimate doer. That things are not happening just because of them, but there's a much bigger plan which all of us are part of. And of course we are. We all are used as instruments towards the fulfillment of other people's good and bad karmic reactions. We're all instruments. Whether it's that we give in charity to someone and they get some money or some food, which is a happy thing, or due to some mistake, our vehicle crashes into someone else's vehicle and they're not able to drive to work for some time, and it's a big problem for them. So we didn't plan it, but somehow it happened, and there's a big mix of karmic reactions and karmic fulfillment that's going on in this world. And of course, Diti, she understands this, that there is some plan here much bigger than me. And I feel very bad, of course, that my children are going to be as they will be. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm going to go on to the next verse, which is very similar. Antarbahis chamalam abjanetram swapurushe chanugrihita rupam pautrastabashi lalanalalaman drastasvarat kundala manditananam. Your grandson will be able to see inside and outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose wife is the beautiful Goddess of Fortune. And I have one painting where we have Lord Vishnu and Goddess Lakshmi and the various major demigods offering respect and adoration. Lord Hanuman is there, Sri Ganeshji, Lord Shiva, different demigods, Lord Brahma, and Lord Vishnu with Goddess Lakshmi. The Lord can assume the form desired by the devotee, and his face is always beautiful, beautifully decorated with earrings. Purport: it is predicted herewith that the grandson of Diti, Prahlad Maharaj, would not only see the personality of Godhead within himself by meditation, but would also be able to see him personally with his eyes. This direct vision is possible only for one who is highly elevated in Krishna consciousness, for the Lord is not possible to see with material eyes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has multifarious eternal forms such as Krishna, Baladev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Vasudeva, Narayan, Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and Vamana, and the devotee of the Lord knows all those Vishnu forms. A pure devotee becomes attached to one of the eternal forms of the Lord, and the Lord is pleased to appear before him in the form desired. A devotee does not imagine something whimsical about the form of the Lord, nor does he ever think that the Lord is impersonal and can assume a form desired by the non-devotee. The non-devotee has no idea of the form of the Lord, and thus he cannot think of any one of the above-mentioned forms, but whenever a devotee sees the Lord, he sees him in a most beautifully decorated form, accompanied by his constant companion, the Goddess of Fortune, who is eternally beautiful. Just Srila Prabhupada opening, it's like curtains, opening the curtains of the spiritual realm, revealing to us what is actual spirituality, not just the white light of Brahman, consciousness, which is very common amongst certain groups of spiritualists, but the full, complete realization of variegatedness, nama, rupa, lila, transcendental names, transcendental forms, transcendental pastimes. Of course, Lord Krishna explains this very, you might say it's kind of common sense, but in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 15th chapter, describing this material world, that it's just a reflection of the spiritual world. This verse in Bhagavad Gita. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is, but with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Purport. It is now clearly stated that the real form of this banyan tree cannot be understood in this material world. Since the root is upwards, the extension of the real tree is at the other end. When entangled with the material expansions of the tree, which means this material world, one cannot see how far the tree extends, nor can one see the beginning. Yet one has to search, one has to find out the cause. I am the son of my father is the son of such a person, etc. By searching in this way, one comes to Brahma, who is generated by the Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Finally, in this way, when one reaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the end of research work. One has to search out the origin of this material world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the association of persons who are in knowledge of that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, by understanding, one becomes gradually detached from this false reflection of reality, and by knowledge, one can cut off the connection and actually become situated in the real tree. Very, very wonderful, simple discussion about this existence, how everything that we see, it's a reflection of the eternal spiritual realm. It has a source, it has a cause, a person who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that by reawakening our attachment to Him, and by reawakening our understanding of the spiritual world, how it's full of life and light and love and people and flowers and plants and fruits and vegetables, feelings and activities, we become attached to the spiritual realm and automatically become detached from the temporary. This is the process. The word asanga is very important in this connection because the attachment for sense enjoyment and lording it over the material nature is very strong. Therefore, one must learn detachment by discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures, and one must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. As a result of such discussion in the association of devotees, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the first thing one must do is surrender to Him. The description of that place whence, having gone, one never returns to this false reflected tree is given here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original root from whom everything is emanated. To gain the favor of that Personality of Godhead, one has only to surrender. And this is a result of performing devotional service by hearing and chanting. So as we began today's discussion, Krishna consciousness is increasingly developed to a large extent by our seriously studying Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing about Krishna, so that we can increasingly understand, oh, yes, this is what God is, this is what He does, this is what He's like. In truth, Tattvata, He is the cause of the extension of the material world. This has already been explained by the Lord Himself. Aham Savasya Prabhava. I am the origin of everything. Therefore, to get out of the entanglement of this strong banyan tree of material life, one must surrender to Krishna. And as soon as one surrenders unto Krishna, one becomes detached automatically from this material extension. So when we notice that our mind is interested in this material world, part of that is just habit. When we have a fan in our flat and we turn it off, it keeps spinning, isn't it? It doesn't just stop. It spins Isn't that right? So in the beginning, we understand all these things, but the fan of our previous focus is still spinning. And also, it's there to the extent, uh, well, it indicates that we have to make more progress in understanding the spiritual realm and understanding Krishna. The more we understand Krishna in truth, really, automatically that fan will slow down. So this is the key to our becoming detached from unwanted things is by becoming attached to Krishna. Then the detachment is more or less automatic, although in the beginning we have to use our willpower to not make the fan spin more by indulging in more unnecessary sense gratification and sinful activities. So here, wonderful, wonderful verse describing Prahlad, how he'll be able to see Krishna everywhere, and describing the Supreme Personality whose wife is the beautiful goddess of fortune. Yes, God has a wife. Why not? Men in this world have wives. God can't have what I have. What a ridiculous thinking. Well, how can God have a wife? Well, I don't know. How do you have a wife? Of course, it's amazing. It's how that is and exactly how it is. That's amazing to our minds. But anyway, it's true. So here, Srila Prabhupada points out that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has multi-eternal forms, and the devotee of the Lord is familiar with all these Vishnu forms, and a pure devotee becomes attached to one of the eternal forms of the Lord. So it may be any one. Some devotees are especially attracted to Krishna as Sita Ram, to Lakshmi Nrsimha, to Lakshmi and Narayan, to Radha Krishna. They are all Vishnu. They're all Krishna, eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. And our meditation upon them and our devotion to them uplifts us to the to the platform of genuine spiritual consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada points out that the non-devotee has no idea of the form and, of course, cannot think of them. So any questions or discussions about this? Very amazing, wonderful spiritual information. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, I have like two questions actually in this regard. The first one is Diti, even though Kashyapa Muni was a sage, but still because of the wrong timing, they had to give birth. Diti Mata has to give birth to two demons. And Hiranyakashyapa, being a demon also, he can beget a Prahlada, kid like Prahlada, which was very like, how come that is it is like, oh, I know this is part of all Leela, but still I just want to understand a little bit more in detail, Prabhuji.
Yeah, well, that's described in the seventh canto, but it's just simply exactly what you said. That Krishna has his occasionally he arranges things which are beyond the usual. He had a plan. The demigods had prayed to him previously, because as Hiranyakashipu grew up, he became more and more bothersome and hurtful to others, and the demigods were frightened. And they went to Lord Vishnu and they prayed and they asked for his help. So this is a long-range plan. And also, one thing that catches my attention is that we should have patience and confidence that Krishna is helping us, but it may not be tomorrow.
Yes.
It may take some time for especially something like this to be fixed. So Lord Vishnu had a long plan. And so when Hiranyakashipu, he worshiped Lord Brahma and he asked for benedictions. And so Lord Vishnu made it so he asked for certain things, which later on would allow him to be killed. And he also arranged that Prahlad Maharaj, very unusually, would take birth in the atheistic family so that Hiranyakashipu's offenses, his Vaishnava aparad, would accelerate a genuine reason for him to be gotten rid of. Another reason, because he was very hurtful and insulting to Prahlad Maharaj, and then he was doomed. Then Lord Nrsingadev appeared, and Krishna is no one can be more tricky than Krishna. So Hiranyakashipu was killed. He wasn't killed inside or outside. He was killed on the doorstep. And he wasn't killed during the day or the nighttime. He was killed at dusk.
Yes.
And he wasn't killed by a man. He wasn't killed by an animal. He was killed by a half man, half animal. And so this way, Lord Vishnu, very tricky and intelligent. He helped the
Yes.
demigods and rescued Prahlad Maharaj and gave another set of transcendental Leela for devotees to think about and talk about and become free from the miseries of this material world. So many
Yes.
reasons. Also in Lord Krishna, Kamsa was sending so many demons to Vrindavan and the area, and the residents were terrified. I mean, there was a lot of terror. The different demons would come and very frightening. And it went on for what? 11, 12 years. It wasn't the next day that Kamsa was gotten rid of. So things may take some time, but at the right time. And actually just see with Prahlad Maharaj, when finally Hiranyakashipu himself was going to kill Prahlad, that was it. Then Lord Vishnu manifested. So.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
And your other question?
And other one, actually, Prabhuji, I have actually two more questions, but I'll ask one, Prabhuji, today. The question is like, for example, when we are speaking about Prahlad Maharaj was born in atheist, like demoniac family, but still he was a Brahmin. He had Brahminical qualities, Vaishnava qualities, and he was very tolerant and did all these things. But for example, for us, even though we have lot of like qualities with tolerance and all, but sometimes we too feel like we have to in between, like when it is too much to tolerate, then we too act like a kshatriya. So how should I uh, so I
Yeah,
don't
that's a
know.
good question. That's a good
Yeah.
question. That which Lord Krishna, I believe, addresses significantly in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where he describes that the fully awakened, pure state of constantly meditating upon him and love of him, like Prahlad. But then he says, but if you cannot do that, then follow the regular principles of Bhakti Yoga. And if you cannot do that, then just try to work for me. And if you can't do that, then just try to be a good person and be charitable. So we do the best that we can. We strive and we pray to act in the best possible devotional way, but we all have our limits. We all have our limits. We cannot do more than that. If we try and imitate, we should not imitate Prahlad Maharaj. We should become encouraged and push ourselves to tolerate other people, perhaps in our family or in the workplace or the neighborhood, and we practice understanding that they're just instruments of our own past karma and we forgive them, but we all have our limits. When our mind becomes too disturbed by someone's actions, then we need to do something. We need to remove ourselves, go somewhere else, or we need to take some action to stop them. We should not allow ourselves to be abused in the name of godly qualities. I mean, sometimes our mother or father may speak very hard, or some other person may speak to us with very unpleasant, but once in a while, we're humans. Such things happen. But if it's repeated and they're very much have personal anger towards us or they want to cause us problems, then we should remove ourselves to a more peaceful situation or do something so that they stop.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, very nicely said. Yeah,
Yes,
because yeah, this one is very important because many times when they say like you have to tolerate, you have to tolerate, you have to tolerate, but at one point it's not easy to tolerate.
yes.
So,
I remember being in one workplace and the owner was, as others said, it wasn't just my imagination, but he was very good at insulting and being mean
oh my.
regularly. Not always, but he could really be nasty. And I worked very closely with him, and I did the best I could to not be disturbed in my mind, but it came to such a point. So I asked an older devotee, I said, well, you know what? I'm not Prahlad Maharaj, at what point, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, it's just my karma, but I can hardly think. I'm just so bothered. He said, when it gets like that, then you need to remove yourself, that you can't,
Yeah.
you're so disturbed in your mind, you can't practice your Krishna consciousness. And then that's too much for you.
Mm. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank
Yeah,
you for wonderful, wonderful suggestions
yeah.
and yes, beautiful. Hari bol.
And
Thank
also, just along that point, in a very simple way, like in families or in a marital situation, we can be assertive. There's a difference between being assertive and being commanding. Assertive means just to express our feelings, like we may say to our mother, I don't know if you are aware of it, but when you speak like that, I feel so unhappy. So we're asserting our feeling, and we can do that. And it's often very helpful. The other person, if we put it like that, instead of you're so stupid, you don't know how to talk, your words are terrible, instead of criticizing them, express how we're feeling. I don't think you know how I feel when you do that. And many times that can be enough. If we do that once or twice, the other person will, oh, I didn't know. Thanks for telling me.
you.
We can assert our feelings. It's not that we're commanding or demanding anything, but rather than just eating it, on and on and on. No, we're not required to do that.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, very, very practical. Yes, this is very, very practical.
Although when we push ourselves, perhaps thinking this is I must have done this to someone else. Now it's happening to me. So I'm not going to be too upset about it because I'm the one who's at fault here, really. And I'm going to burn off my past karma, which is true, and we will. So it's an opportunity actually to reduce our past karma. We can take advantage of it, but up to a point. It's like when it's cold out. So we don't necessarily have to wrap ourselves in a blanket as soon as there's a little bit of cold on our skin. And we practice tolerating. Let me just be a little tolerant. But when it gets to the point and you're shivering, you can catch some sickness and you have to wrap up, you see. So,
Yes.
was there another good question?
Thank you, Prabhuji. The other one was just, I was wondering, like the devotees, when Hiranyakashipu was actually troubling all the devotees in that time, at that time, what was the fault of the devotees that they have to suffer so much? And
I don't
also,
know specifically, but it must have been something.
yes,
Nothing,
okay,
no one, there's no such thing as an innocent victim.
okay,
So,
okay, Prabhuji. Okay,
so
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
in some past life, they must have bothered someone else very severe. And, things are done by Krishna for many reasons at the same time. So
Yes.
sometimes utilizing our past destiny, Krishna allows, just like he has his hand on the dial to motivate us that don't get too comfortable, because the heavenly planets, they're very, very, very comfortable, beautiful.
Mm.
So they need a little fire once in a while. Oh, we have to go back to Godhead.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you
Yeah,
for wonderful
yeah.
session and also answering all my questions. And thank you all devotees
Hare Krishna.
for the patience. Hare
Haribol. Anything
Krishna.
else? Otherwise, we can close.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dara Pranams. Thank you so much for that discourse for today from the two demoniac personalities to Prahlad Maharaj. Thank you, and also making time for us. Maybe just one question that I had before you end. I see you have 2 minutes. I was when we see when we give the identity of a person, and here we are giving identity of two unborn babies, and we are saying they will be demons, and here is also another grandson who will be angelic, who will be a devotee. So he's already known as a devotee. When somebody is demoniac, I'm trying to see maybe it could be because of that particular lifetime he will not be able to give. He will be demoniac to other person. He'll do ill things to others, and the devotee will do good things to others. So my question was: is the identity of being demoniac? It's a bodily identification. It's not a soulistic, like not attached to the soul. Like Prahlad Maharaj was a devotee even before he was born. So the identity is it because after he got the body of Prahlad Maharaj, he started preaching about Krishna consciousness. Thus, he has become angelic, has become devotee. And these two others, the identity is after they have been born, they've started to do ill things to others. They become demonic after they have been born. But they could have been anything else. If they were maybe devotee, I don't know. Because ideally, Hiranyakashipu and his brother are servants of Krishna. They are Vijay and Vijay. So in real essence, they are actually devotees. But in this particular lila, we are calling them demoniac. So maybe just maybe some clarification. The identity of a soul, a jiva, as demoniac it's in the bodily platform, or not the soulistic aspect of him. Maybe just some little clarification. I don't know whether my question or is making sense. I'm sorry if it's not. Yes.
So how can a living entity become demoniac?
Yes. Because Vijay and Vijay are devotees of the Lord, and they became demoniac. But already we before they even born, they have been called demoniac already because of this particular lila.
Well, there's what they say, a backstory
Yes.
that we may be familiar with, that actually Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha are the two eternal servants of Lord Vishnu, Jai and Vijay, who made offenses to the four Kumaras somehow,
Yes.
and they were cursed to take 3 births as demons. So they're actually, one reason that they're so powerful is that they're actually the eternal servants of Lord Vishnu. Somehow they're fallen in this material world. And even that is being used as part of a larger plan of Krishna's. So we have free will. Sometimes
Yes.
children, 18, 19 years old, they don't want to be with their parents, don't want to have relationship with the parents, want to go away. That's a choice. We all have free will.
Yes.
And we also have some little tendency to become jealous or envious. And so that happened with these 2 souls.
Mm.
And now they're
Yes.
part of our larger plan. Lord Vishnu used this mistake of Kashyapa Muni and Diti for them to appear, which is part of a larger pastime with Prahlad Maharaj later on, Lord Varaha. So, Leela, very.
Mm.
Is that all right? You have another question?
Yes. 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 It's it's would it be I would say would it would not be very fair, maybe as a astrologer I see a pregnant lady and doing all the astrology, then maybe they had the inauspicious time and I tell them they'll have a demoniac child. It would not be right, because maybe in one way or another the child can change the astrology, and maybe
Yes.
the parent can go into the temple and
Yes.
they become devotee. There's that
Yeah.
possibility, not necessarily. Yeah.
And there's no abortion. There's no, you just have to allow destiny to take its course and hope for the best. That's all we can do. Sometimes we are involved in activities and we know the result is not going to be so good, but what can we do? Just we're not the ultimate cause of everything that happens. There's a larger plan, and we can pray that things turn out the best and do what we can, and that's all we can do. Depend on Krishna, knowing that his plan is always good, ultimately.
Wow. Yes. So thank you very much. I'd like to request Her Grace Kritida Sundari Mataji, would you be able to end the session for us today? And thank you, Gayatri Mataji, for your beautiful questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. You make the class so practical every day, and we are eternally grateful to you. Let us all unmute and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra once in glorification of Dina Sharan Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha sindhuvaicha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Granth Shri Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. His Grace Dina Sharan Prabhu ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to.
Thank you so much for your association. I look forward to meeting again soon if you will have me. I wish everyone well and the best Lord Krishna has to offer. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.